I'd just like to first pay respects to the spirit of country and the past and present cultural knowledge holders responsible for maintaining and promoting the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander law, customs and custodianship obligations. Thank you.
That's amazing. Thank you, Sally. Thank you, and thank you for everyone who's joining us. And people have said in terms of where in the world people are joining, that would be something that would be great as well. So people could maybe put kind of the country that they're doing. So Amy, you put that in the chat. That's great. So if people can see and understand where we're coming from, and the nation states that we're coming from as well. That'd be fantastic. So my name is Rob Baker. I'm speaking to you from Durham in the UK. It's very early in the morning here, so it's 5:30 in the morning. But I'm an early riser, and I'm excited. My excitement to come and speak to you about this idea is fueling me on, and I hope that you benefit from that excitement in terms of actually get something tangible out of the session. I appreciate your lives are very busy, and as a consequence of that, kind of like I genuinely appreciate you joining me today and spending your time with me. And in return for that, I'll try and make and share with you some ideas that are practical, that will hopefully make a difference to you the next time that you go to a conference. And I know a number of you will be going to the TASA conference. So that's kind of my kind of promise to you that I'll do my best to encourage that engagement. We're going to do some interaction together as a group and go through a number of different activities, and I'll explain some concepts. So that's what we will do as we're going through. So a little bit about tiny bit about me before I can jump in and start talking about the session and conference crafting, is that I founded Tailored Thinking 6 years ago now, when we moved back to the UK from Melbourne, Australia. And the focus of Tailored Thinking is to make the world of work a better place. So using evidence-based practice. So my son recently, who's 9, was talking to his friends, and he said about what their dad's doing different things. And he says, my dad makes people smile at work using science. And I like that. So I'll take that from Finn. That's very kind of him to say that. And on the same breath, the day later, my daughter was kind of like understanding about bosses and teams, and she's a lot younger. And she said, Dad, are you a boss? And I'm like, kind of, yeah, I'm a boss. And she was just burst out laughing because she thought she was very grounding. So Finn could like help me bring me up and it kept me grounded. But we kind of draw from that in terms of the work that we do to make people smile at work, or in the things that they do, is around actually what's the science and behind this. And we draw a lot from the ideas of positive psychology and wellbeing science that some of you will be excuse me, familiar with, and maybe not. And I'll touch on that a little bit as we're going through. And we're being evidence informed means that we go to a lot of conferences as well. Also, we present at conferences, and we attend them as well as participants. And the idea that we're going to talk about came about from a conference that we spoke in Iceland. So that's that's a bit of kind of context for now. I'm going to share some slides, and we're going to have copies of these sent to you, so you can make notes. But please kind of know that you'll have these. There's also, whenever I present, there's an open invitation for people to connect with me if you want to, and share some questions and ideas. There'll be opportunities today to do that, but also just to say there's an open invitation for you to contact me, because I'm passionate about this stuff and I want to help where best I can. So this is a picture you're seeing at the moment. I wonder if anyone knows where the picture is from, if anyone's been to this place in terms of the building. I've forgotten the exact name of it. I can tell you where it is. I wonder if anyone knows where that building is. If so, you can put it on the chat. And so I was presenting at this conference, and I'll explain where it is in a second. And you can see bottom left, this idea that we talked about, this idea of conference crafting, came about at this conference. And the subject we were talking about at the conference was job crafting. So my kind of specialism and my expertise is around job crafting. And job crafting is the focus of making changes to how you act, interact, and think about how you do your job, or that could be your studies from a PhD perspective, in a way that lends itself to your strengths, your passions, your interests. So crafting is about taking the job you have and making small changes to it to make it a better experience. And no one's put a guess in terms of the chat. Oh no, nice, thanks Steve. You have. So library in Denmark. You're right. There's Scandinavian tones here. So this is actually the Opera House in Iceland, in Reykjavik, and it was the space of the European Positive Psychology Conference that was taking place. So we were presenting at the conference with a colleague of mine, Maggie Vanden Heuvel, and we were sharing the science of job crafting. And so this idea around, if we bring our strengths to work, if people feel there's a good fit between the work that they're doing and their strengths, their passions, their interests, then they tend to perform better. They tend to be more engaged and tend to have more energy in terms of their work. They're also more likely to stay as well. And so we introduced this idea. It was like, well, normally if we're running a workshop for organizations, we encourage people to set a job crafting goal. So think about when you go back into the workplace, how can you personalize your work? But this, because as we were at the conference, we thought, well, maybe we could apply this for conferences. So we actually share the same ideas, which I'll share with you in a second, as we go through the session about conferences, and get people to personalize their experiences and set a goal for the next 3 days of the conference. And we just did this by accident. We could have made it up on the spot, and we called it conference crafting. But what we found from this session is that during the rest of the week and the conference, people kept coming up to us and saying, "Oh, I'm doing my conference crafting goal. This is really good." And they also had conversations with other people in the group. I was saying, "How are you doing with your conference crafting goal?" And everyone had their own goal. Some of them were similar, some of them were different, but everyone felt actually having a clear focus about how they were showing up at the conference with a clear kind of target and intention in mind was a really positive impact for them. So we then thought, aha, this is interesting. And we have then now done this, presented this at 3 other conferences around the world where we're kind of like getting people to do this. So some we do sessions like this before the conference, and some that we will do in person at the conference itself. And we early in the year were in a conference for the Centre of Transformational Work Design in Perth, Australia, where we did this for a delegation of about 300 people before the kind of conference started. And again, we found positive benefits from it. So I'm hoping if you're joining this session that you might be useful for you when you're thinking about your next conference experience. And again, I know for a lot of you, that will be the TASA conference. So to start with, what I'd like you to do, just to kind of think, and ideally need a pen and a piece of paper for this, if you can. So I'll give people a second to kind of go and find a pen and piece of paper and like looking up. And I'm very impressed, Anne, that you happen to have some paper so close to you in terms of yours. Looks like you have a very efficient workstation. You may not. That's what I'm thinking about. Some of you might be on traveling, listening to this in different places. You don't have a pen and paper. That's fine. But I'd like you, if you can, I'd like you to have a piece of paper and a pen in front of you. And what I'd like you to do is to think about something that you're passionate about. So something that you, outside of your studies or your research that you do, or outside of your critical role, or something that's passionate to you. So it could be your family, your friends, it could be traveling, it could be walking, it could be running, it could be reading books, going to the cinema. Recently we did this with someone, and they were shared that they collected animal skulls. I think there's a word for it, but it was made their colleagues look at them a bit differently, or they learned something new about that colleague. They didn't know about this. It was quite interesting. So I want you to think about something that you're passionate about outside of work, but I'm going to ask you to draw it. And I'm going to ask you to draw it. And some of you will be like, oh, I love drawing. And some of you are like, oh, I hate drawing, or I'm not good at drawing. So to normalize this, to make it easy for everyone else, I'd like you to do this with your eyes closed. Okay. So I'm going to invite you just to do something a bit different. And if you can do this, just to try something different, it'll feel funny and a bit weird. But for 30 seconds, I'm going to ask you to draw a picture that represents your passion. Okay. So we're going to have, I'm going to invite you to close your eyes now. So if you've got a pen and a piece of paper in front of you, and just draw something that represents your passion. Okay. Okay, you've got 15 seconds. You've got 15 seconds left. Okay, 5. Okay, so pens down. For those that can, just again, not everyone's got their cameras on, but that's fine. So those that can, would you mind just see if you can show your picture in terms of the camera? And some of this works sometimes, and some of it the other day. So Joanne, I'm just seeing through. Okay, nice. Fantastic. Okay, so seeing things through, brilliant. Okay, so do you mind if we might go to someone? So in terms of, I'm going to just go to Lauren, if that's okay. Lauren, I'm sorry to put you on the spot from this, but do you mind sharing your picture again? So just in terms of Lauren, so just looking at Lauren, and can people try and guess what Lauren is passionate about?
Actually, because you're sharing your screen, I'm not sure if participants can see.
Okay, so I'll stop sharing. That's good. Thank you very much, Anne. That's really helpful. Let's go to Lauren. Sorry, this is like putting you through torture now. I didn't ask you about this.
I'll spotlight Lauren.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Lauren. Okay, so that looks like I've got guesses, but other people put in the chat. So people put in the chat, or come off mic if you want to. And fastest, there's prizes for this. I don't know what the prizes are, but you'll get prizes. Do you want to guess? Amy looks like she knows, so I can see Amy looking. No, she doesn't know.
I can see a
Yes.
person.
A person. I think I'm going to put something in the chat. Other people put something in the chat. So, public speaking, Michelle's saying. Is that right, Lauren? Oh, you might have to come off your mic. Music. Oh, music we've got from Amy. Camera filming. Gardening from Steve. Okay, that's off. That was teaching.
No, public speaking was close.
Yeah.
Maybe it might be helpful, like thinking about what the squiggles.
DJ.
DJ. Someone said that. Someone's saying.
DJ.
Close. It's in the it's in the umbrella.
Oh, public speaking and DJing. Lecturing?
Is it lecturing or presenting? So is it presenting or performing?
Yeah, you're on the right track.
I'm thinking of maybe what do you call it, where you sing to the songs that
karaoke.
You're getting there.
No.
You might need to help us, Laura. You might need to help us out.
Can we just give you the answer?
Yeah, give us the answer.
Yeah, like concerts. Like that's meant to be the stage, and it wasn't very successful. And then that's like the group, the audience, the heads in the audience, and then
performing.
And then I tried to do a drum kit, and that wasn't very successful, but it's fine.
Are you in a band? Is the band?
I tried to draw a band, like started to, but I didn't really have time.
So tell us about it. Tell us about your passion. Tell us about your passion.
Oh, I just love going to like live events and like particularly concerts. But like I don't have any musical talents at all. But I love going to concerts.
You love going to concerts, and is it about the concerts? Is it about seeing people live? Is it about the atmosphere of the crowd? Is it all that kind of?
I think all of it, especially I think mainly the performer, but also like just everyone being so excited to see one person is pretty fun.
Oh, amazing. Thank you very much. Could we made you do this, Lauren, and can you nominate someone else who's maybe got their video up if they can at the moment, just so they can share their screen. So if you can see anyone on your screen.
Everyone's screens are off, so I can't like.
We've got here for the names. I'll give you some names of people. So there's Amy and Joanna. I think Steve's camera was on a second ago. He's off for the time being. So Anne, Amy, or Joanna, I would suggest. And I'm putting these people on the spot, so forgive me for doing this, and I really appreciate you helping with doing this.
I'll show mine.
Thanks, Joanna. That's really cool. Thank you.
That's good, because I was going to ask if anyone wanted to do it.
That's very cool. That's very kind of you. That's very kind of you.
Easy.
That is good. So again, guesses from people, or put things in the chat for people.
That's easy.
Did you do that with your eyes closed, Joanna?
I know. I am so impressed. No, I seriously am. I think my spatial skills are amazing.
People find sessions and guess that they never knew they had. What are people's guesses about this? So nature. People are saying nature, being outside in nature, walking. That's from Jane and Lauren and Rachel.
Yeah, because it's interesting, just to save time. So I've got gardening and bushwalking. So I've got the, nature bit of drawing what's in the garden, but then I put path in there. So yeah, bit of both. Yeah.
Nice. That's good. So being outside though, to you something that gives you
energy. Get away from this screen. Yeah.
Particularly when funny English people are speaking to you as well. So I appreciate. I think that's good, and for me as well. I know that I feel better tangibly if I get outside. I'm sure many people here are going to get this, and that applies to conference crafting. So one of the conference crafting goals that someone was saying is that this applies to me, someone was sharing that the conferences, often when we go to conferences, we go with the best intentions and we come out with a good experience because it's so full on in terms of what we've done. But some of us might feel a bit overwhelmed by the kind of conferences because there's so many people, so much going on. Our heads kind of like explode. I often feel, particularly early conferences I went to, I always feel hungover afterwards because of that stimulation. And so one of the things that I've realized for me that makes a difference from a well-being perspective, this is well-being crafting, is around getting us to me to get outside. If I can find some nature or parks to look outside, so I might go for a run or walk in the morning before conference, or I might try and get out during the conference, because I know that I will tangibly perform better at the conference in terms of understanding stuff and engaging with people if I've had that break. And for some of you, nature might not be the thing, but for some of you saying, actually, I need to refresh and recharge during the conference, getting into a bit of nature, if that's the thing, is great. Or along, I don't know if you can combine it with a conference. I did with a conference in Australia. I talk about Perth. I went and saw I was going to think a band as part of the festival that was playing in Perth. That was really kind of great fun for me to kind of explore and do something different and new as well. So I can combine both of those when it comes to conferences. Okay, so come back to slides. So the reason I ask you to do that, to draw your passion, is that we know innately kind of the things that we are excited about, give us energy, that we prioritize and find time for outside of work. These are things that these are things that kind of help fill us up. And what I want you to do is think about this from a lens of your conference, in terms of thinking about, okay, what are the things I can do to kind of design my conference experience of how I go into conferences in a way that, again, is going to kind of like bolster your energy, the things that you're going to enjoy, and it will help you to engage and get the most out of the conferences that you're there for. So that's the idea of conference, the idea of that activity. And also, I'm also a bit mean, and that to get something to do differently, and that's one of the reasons I did it as well. And also, you learn new skills in terms of, you realize that your ability to kind of draw with your eyes closed, some of you. So this slide here shows you different types of crafting. So I mentioned about the idea of crafting and conference crafting, and this is probably worth just taking a bit of time to think about here as we're going through. So when it comes to crafting, and conference crafting, there's 5 kind of ways that you might craft your role. So when you're thinking about your conferences, in terms of the next conference you're going to, just think about the kind of opportunities for you to craft in different ways. So task crafting, currently on top of the screen going around at the moment, is around thinking about the tasks and activities of your day-to-day conference tasks and activities. That could be, for some of you, presenting. That could be note-taking. It could be around how you structure your day and kind of like attending and going to sessions. So all the kind of the activities that you involve within going to conferences is an example of your tasks. And you can craft them by shaping how you do those tasks in different ways. So, for example, it might be that for you, you typically might think about, okay, I am taking notes in these sessions, and typically I take notes by doing X, and X might be making notes on your computer, X might be scribbling something on a diary, X might be just sitting and listening. And so a form of kind of crafting for you might be saying, okay, I might do that slightly differently. So I might learn to mind map, or I might actually go to a session and just not make any notes at all and just sit and listen, which is something that many of us just don't do anymore. Like, it's somebody's going to sit and listen, let's see what that looks like. But it's around a provocation of saying, I typically do X or Y, and saying I might change that in terms of my day to do something different. Similarly, if you're presenting, you might think about using that in a different way, a different style. You might have a different introduction than you would typically in terms of that. You might use different software to do it. So that's another way you can task, or you can think about how you structure your day as well, in terms of normally you would go to every single session on a conference, and you might structure that differently and saying, actually, I'm going to recognize that my head has only got finite capacity. I can't squeeze everything in. It's like an all-you-can-eat buffet often at conferences, and you can't, if you eat everything, you feel like you've eaten too much food, like you've all been the overeat kind of buffet. So it's like, how can you be more deliberate in terms of that conference and selecting the right food? So that's task crafting. Skill crafting is around developing and refining your skills and knowledge. So It's around how you can maybe learn about new topics or existing topics and deepen that knowledge. Or it could be other skills that you want to develop over the time. So it could be a skill, could be networking. That could be a skill that you're trying to work. Or a skill could be saying, actually, there's a really interesting subject area of my studies that I want to kind of do a deeper dive to. So I'm going to go and try and do that deliberately. Or there might be someone speaking that you want to kind of like, you really value their work and you want to go and listen to them and try and have a conversation with them to understand some concepts further. So skill crafting is around deepening your kind of knowledge or to gaining new knowledge. It could be going to a session that you knew nothing about and just giving you permission to just try and have exposure to something completely new and different. And that might be, again, broadening your knowledge in the area. Purpose crafting is connecting to your meaning and purpose. So that could be thinking about the kind of purpose for you around the studies that you're going to. So it could be because you're really passionate about the subject area. It could be around kind of connecting to your community of other students or other kind of participants or and researchers and academics in this space, other participants. It could be thinking about the place as well, learning more about the place. So this is my understanding is that kind of the next TASA conference, for example, is in Curtin. So it could be saying, actually, I'm going to learn more about the surrounding areas. I'm going to kind of maybe take part in something that's kind of happening, and because I'm interested in that. It could be going to see a band, as I did when I was in Perth, or it could be learning more about maybe the Indigenous history of the place that you're going to, because that's something that's important to you. So that purpose crafting can be different. It could be around your discipline area and connecting to that because you care about it, and having conversations about it. Or it could be around learning about the area that you're engaging with. So again, bringing something you're passionate about to do it. Or if you're, say, like a runner, like myself, it could be saying, I'm going to go and just use it as an excuse to explore and run around the city and learn more about it. So you're getting something out from it there. Relationship kind of crafting is, as you would expect, around connecting and engaging with other people and making the most of that. And then well-being crafting is around making your conference experience positive from a mental and physical perspective that you have. So it's in terms of how do you make your a healthy and positive conference experience for you. So again, that could be thinking about not going to every session, taking breaks regularly for yourself. It could be making sure that maybe you don't for some people saying they don't go do too much on the first day because actually they find that they need to have time for the second day. Or it could be, actually, I spent all my time inside in the conferences and I find it really stifling, so I'm going to make sure that I get outside once a day or go for a walk in the morning in terms of before the conference. Or could be anything in terms of this in space. Or I'm going to take the stairs because I don't get my steps in that day because I'm so busy I don't get a chance to exercise or go to the gym, so I'm going to just walk around rather than take the lifts. It could be small things like that, but like, again, how are you interacting with that conference? How are you showing up in ways that make a difference to you? Does this make sense to people going so far? People understanding what I'm like say? Because I can see some of your videos. Can't even. Can you put a yes or no or question mark on there the chat if just in terms of does the ideas make sense so far? Yeah, I've got a thumbs up, so thank you for that. And Jane, yeah, thank you. Okay, so where we're moving towards is we're gonna get you to make a conference crafting goal for your next kind of conference that you're coming. So again, that could be TASA, it could be a different conference that you've got coming up. But to get there, so that's a spoiler. So I've just spoiled the end of the session. So forgive me if you don't like spoilers for your TV programs or your books that you're doing. So I've just spoiled this session for you. Some of you can be so upset you can leave now if that's the case, but hopefully the majority of you will stay. So we're going to set a goal. But before that, I'm going to share with you a whiteboard, and I'm going to get you to think about what is it that you love and loathe about conferences. And some of you might be seasoned regulars. This might be your first time. So some of you are thinking, oh, these are the things I might think I'm going to like or not like about conferences. And what I want you to do, so I'm going to share a different screen now with you. And you should see this whiteboard, and I'll bring you to this. I want you to think about using the post-it notes that we have. And you don't have to use the colors, but you might use a red one for things that drain your energy and a green for others. And I might put here something that drains my energy is around too much stimulation.
Are we meant to be able to see what you?
Yeah, you're not seeing it at the moment. You're not seeing the. Thank you.
No.
Right, let me. Thank you. How's that? Are people seeing my screen now?
Yep, thank you.
So this idea of this time. So on the left-hand side of the x-axis around things that drain your energy, the right-hand side of things that give you energy, and time might be how much time you think you've done doing this in terms of a conference. So again, it's arbitrary. It's just as you can guess in terms of here. So too much stimulation, so ideas and people. That's something that I find as a drainer. So that's just one note on there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share this with you all. I'm going to invite you to complete this if you can. If you can't complete the whiteboard, it doesn't give you access. 90% of people can access the whiteboards when we use them. Some people, often for just small reasons, can't. Just put the reasons in the chat. So just put the kind of things that you
it's coming back.
like and don't like. So I'll stop my screening. So people are seeing. So someone else's screen. Is this someone else's screen that's showing at the moment? People are viewing emojis. So we're seeing someone's whiteboard. So I'm just going to stop that. So okay. So hopefully people on the link can see that and it should be working. If you can't, if that doesn't work for you, or you're not in a position because of where you are to be able to complete this exercise, fine, that's absolutely fine. It's there and you'll be in the slides for you to do it. And I'll send you the link to this whiteboard as well, so you can do it afterwards. But I just want you to get a sense of what,
Rob, the whiteboard's not on the screen at the moment. Is it meant to be?
No, it doesn't have to be. I'll show it again in a second. So I will, if you click on that link, everyone should be able to access the whiteboard. And I've just put in the chat, so people can put that in the chat. And I will share the whiteboard again in a second to people who can't complete the exercise to be able to see it. So I just want to wait, because it can be confusing having the whiteboard up at the same time. So another whiteboard's showing up at the moment. I'm not sure what's going. Okay. So people are on the board. I can see a few people. So things that people are like, yeah, people have got this. So I'll show the board now. So people, for those that can't see it at home, others will be busying on the board themselves. Oh, I like this. Some of the things that are there, I recognize this. So some of the things like multitasking, so someone saying sharing and presenting, yeah, that's Jane. I can see the person who's kind of writing this. That's kind of like can be challenging. It's sometimes hard to engage with everyone. Open plan, yeah, so in terms of that space. Nerves before presenting, yeah, I think this can often be a common problem for some people, and certainly for myself, is that if you're doing a presentation at whatever level and whatever scale, often it's hard to kind of totally relax and enjoy the conference until you've done your presentation. I don't know if that resonates with other people, but that's something that I certainly
I've definitely heard people say that before.
Yeah.
Delegates.
And I think, and I think there's nothing you can. I mean, again, there's things you can do. There's nothing you can stop the idea. There will always be an excitement about presenting, but it might be thinking about, okay, what can you do to kind of like give yourself the time to make sure you feel as prepared as you can for your presentation, maybe in advance, so that you can show up and listen, because you know you've got it. You've got all the things that you need to do to be able to focus. Now, again, that's just me. You might have other tricks that might work for you in that perspective. I'm just seeing other things.
I've noticed that someone said too many parallel sessions. It would be interesting to know what people thought was a kind of a good number, because it's hard to get the sweet spot.
Yeah, so if you've got any ideas here, you can share them through in terms of that group. So I think that's really hard. I personally, the idea of too many, I like the idea of abundance. Again, I often think about conferences like that buffet. There's so many amazing food, and you just realize that when you turn up, you're never going to be able to get all of it, right? So but I also know that some people find the choice can be overwhelming as well. It's really tricky, isn't it, to get that perfect balance.
Someone just asked if we'd run out of pink posts.
Oh, maybe. So if you've run out of pink posts, on the left-hand side on the screen that you can see now, you can find just sticky notes and you can just add them, or you can right-click on existing notes and just put a new one in. So on the right. You've done a good job, everyone, kind of using these. So you can carry on creating new notes if you wish to. So you can just right click and add sticky notes, or you can find them from the left-hand side of the screen. Yeah, we've got more coming now. So I'm looking at things that give energy to people. So some of this around meeting genuine people. Yeah, genuine. So I mean by people who share common interests, I suppose, who could like understand kind of a little bit about you and the way you're coming from. Interesting topic. I can see that idea of somebody putting a smile on my face. Some of you are saying, watching my PhD students presenting for the first time. That's lovely. I love that. I can totally see that. And we talked about purpose crafting. And I imagine like actually having opportunity to reflect on how that PhD student has grown and the ideas of the kind of intellectually and personally maybe, and be able to see that and recognize the role that you've played in that in some way could be really positive. So collaborative environment, feeling part of someone trying to find my tribe. I love this. Hearing great speakers, drinks with friends and networking. Yeah, again, I was listening to something recently and someone was talking about conferences and they're saying it was one of their favorite things to do is just meet people, and it's things that they've been thinking about all the time. They spend all their time thinking about, and then they find other people that spend all their time thinking about the same ideas, and they just get the opportunity to discuss and share, and they immediately have this kind of connection, and then just the variety of ideas that people have. Time away from the desk. Yeah, I think again, someone's put that, and energy for writing and for thoughts. Yeah, there's lots of thoughts might bubble up from the conferences. Some of you, that will happen in the moment. Some of that might happen after the conference as well. But the permission to step away from your day-to-day is something that we don't often get. It's very liberating for a lot of people. I'm just thinking about other comments that we're seeing here.
I just had to laugh at one, Rob.
Yeah, tell me.
Making promises I don't intend to keep, i.e. to write a paper.
Where is that? Was that did that give people
That's
energy,
me,
or did that
Sally.
take away?
Sally, I always do intend to keep that promise, but let's be honest, like I'm sitting there going, let's catch up, let's write a paper, let's collaborate. And I walk away going, I have no intention. Like, is that actually going to happen? It's maybe happened 2 or 3 times, right? Ever.
Oh, well, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good success rate, Amy. So and from my perspective, I love that. So that's really funny. And does that give you energy? Do you find that fun, or is that kind of like a drainer? Because like, oh dear, I don't want to meet that person.
It's on the drain side.
On the terrain
it's
side,
probably fun like later, like when it happens. Like the most recent one is we got very drunk at a conference and we said, let's write a paper. And then we actually did. And it's going under review next week, which is really exciting. So it's amazing. A love now. It's giving me energy now, but it didn't at the time.
No, I love that. So do you mind if I was be so bold, just give a twist on that, like on the idea in terms of saying that? So often it can be when there's lots of opportunities that people don't need to happen. That could be from other conferences. It could be like it could be academic writing papers or collaborations, or it could be future meetings or future works or collaborations. And it could be, and then what can happen is you feel responsibility for that. Like a little bit of you like, oh, I should be taking the stewardship of that, or I want to show committed. So one thing is that we've kind of would say is having a form of words to say when you find these opportunities that give you the opportunity to say, look, I need to reflect on it further. It's like, I get really excited about sharing ideas. That sounds amazing, but also like get super excited. And I need to think about actually, do I have capacity of this? So is it okay if we check back on this idea afterwards, give ourselves permission to, and then just that small change of words of like, give yourself permission to reflect and say, have I got the time for this now? Means that you can actually, when the Prosecco kind of wears off and you're like, oh, that paper wasn't such a good idea. You can go, oh, actually, I haven't got the capacity in the next couple of, having looked at it in the cold light of day in the next 6 months, I haven't got capacity to do that. Or you absolutely have. So just having a form of words when you're going to those kind of conversations can help you like seize opportunities and seek them out, but also doesn't sit with your brain then going, oh, I should do that. I don't know if that's helpful, Amy, and forgive me if I'm overstep. I don't want to give advice, but these are kind of ideas that people have shared with me for others. Okay. So people can get this idea of the different things that you have and love and loathe about conferences. And I think what we can say is there are tremendous opportunities for lots of different reasons. For giving ourselves a life energy, for giving us intellectual energy, for connecting and building community and sense of belonging. But there are also things that can take energy as well. I don't know whether it's because of the post-it notes I put even and odd numbers out, but seems to be an even odd numbers of energy drainers. And I think if we think about going to conferences, traveling to conferences in terms of from a sustainability perspective, from a time perspective, from a resource perspective as well, it's a significant investment. And what I'm going to invite you to do now is thinking about, okay, if that's a significant investment that I'm making on behalf of the environment, behalf of myself, behalf of my family, because other people might be looking after taking on caring responsibilities. It could be significant because actually it's a big financial commitment you're making. You may not have sponsorship for that kind of conference. You're paying for your own pocket. It's like, how do you make the most of that conference? And what I'm going to invite you to do now is we're going to talk about setting a conference goal. Setting it, and so you can think about this, and if goal doesn't really resonate with you, I'd say maybe an intention for something you can play with at your next conference to make it the most. And again, these on your see here, just some examples that we've had from previous conferences that people have, goals that people have shared with us. So I won't read all these out. In fact, what I'll do is I'm just going to pause for a minute, which always feels a bit uncomfortable. And I'm just going to get people to read that slide. And just for those that have turned your camera on, why don't you just turn your camera off, and we'll just change the energy for a bit. So we'll just turn the cameras off that we've got them on. We'll just read this as a reflection. You might start to think about things that you might do as a consequence of this. So we'll just give ourselves a minute 90 seconds or so to read through this. Okay, so hopefully people can have read that now for them, and you can kind of come back. So please, to put your cameras off, please put them back on again, because it was lovely seeing your faces and your reactions as we're going through. So thank you for that, and I appreciate you doing that for those that are able to share their screens. So what I'm going to ask you to do now is I want you to set an intention to think about what is it that you might do at the next conference. So that would be potentially for TASA, if you're going to TASA, or it could be your next kind of conference that you're going to. So thinking about what is something that you can do to kind of make it more you. If you think about that passions that you do before, like how can you set yourselves up for success at the next conference, and setting this intention will kind of hopefully give you a point of opportunity for reflection, but also to kind of improve and make the most of this conference themselves. So when it comes to setting goals, we kind of encourage people, and this again feeds in from our research around job crafting and the work that we do with organizations around job crafting. We encourage people to think about things in six areas, and again, you might want to. This might be applicable for other areas that of goal setting that you have. So the first three. So in terms of boxes around creating a plan. So this is around thinking about what is it your intention is. And I encourage you might have 2 or 3 different intentions for a conference. I encourage you not to get more than that, because it gets another thing to have to manage. So I want you to set yourself up for success at the next conference. So do something you feel is manageable. Do something you're excited about, right, as well. Not something you feel that you should do that you're not going to necessarily have the energy to, which is might be saying, I don't want to engage in the conference after dinner activities or drink or something, if that's because actually that stops you having fun. You know, don't do something that's going to stop you having fun. Do things that you can engage the conference that gives you more energy. So it could be thinking here about what's your goal. So what's your intention? Why is this important to you? So it might be, why is this important to you? And when are you going to do this? And you're creating a plan. There's some interesting research. We've just had the election in the US, obviously. I won't say too much about that. But they did the previous election, they did some studies with people where they phoned people up and they did 2 groups. So one group, they said, have you got an intention to vote? And the person said yes or no. In the second group, they said, have you got intention to vote? Talk us through your plan. So what are you going to, when are you going to vote? and kind of why are you voting, and what tell us through about how you practically are going to manage it. They then phoned back and to the people and said, have you got, did you vote? And there was a significant difference. Almost twice as many people they spoke to who had a plan, could articulate a plan, voted compared with those who just had that intention. So I want you to have a set of plan for doing this. That's why I'm doing this. And then think about what are the barriers. So what may be getting in the way? How are you going to recognize success? And who you're going to share your goal with. So if you share your goal, tell someone else about your goal. It might be a delegate at the conference. It might be a friend or partner. It might be your supervisor. It might be some of your students, a colleague. It doesn't matter in terms of, but tell someone this is an intention that you're setting. And I'll give you some example of something that we set at the last goal for myself. So there's two I set for myself. So one was around using mind map for taking notes. I bought myself a new shiny kind of book to do this. It's always lovely to have a new book or journal. Sometimes you get them at conferences and it's got like the first page. It was always like the most important one that you have because they're like, oh, this is going to set the direction of this notebook. So that was kind of my goal. And then why is it important? Because I wanted to have a better record of engaging the sessions differently, take notes differently. When you can do this, I was going to do it once a day. What are the barriers, or I might struggle to mind map? I don't know if I'm going to be very good at it. I have to learn to do this. How am I going to recognize my success? And my kind of reward was buying that new notepad. And the goal was I was going to tell a colleague, Charlotte, and I was going to show her I was going to take pictures and share my mind maps with her of the sessions. So that was a task crafting goal. A well-being crafting goal was that I was going to go outside at least 5 minutes every 2 or 3 hours. I spend a lot of time inside and I find it stifling. And as I said, I get hungover. My brain just, sometimes, like some of you might have computers that when they get too hot, they spin. My brain feels a bit like that sometimes at conferences. So that's why I wanted to do it. When you're going to do it, it's kind of these breaks every day. What are the barriers? Getting sidetracked by other people, feeling there's too much going on, and I didn't want to kind of escape. It might be that it's hard to kind of get outside. From where you are in Curtin for the conference, I think you're a similar place to we were. You'll definitely be able to get outside. That would definitely be something you can do. The heat might be an issue for you. How are you going to recognize success? I was just going to enjoy being outside, seeing the sunshine, the fresh air, and I was going to tell my colleagues and friends about it. So that if they saw me going outside disappearing, it wasn't because I was being rude. It was because I was just doing my conference goal. So these are the goals. We're going to share. I've got another whiteboard for you for those that are able to do this. So it's the same link, and I'll post that link again. But just the right-hand side of the other board that we had is this template. So I am going to encourage people who've got the post-it notes already. Some of you got it. So I'm going to encourage you to start writing your goals. And again, if you're not able to access the whiteboard, you can do this either on the chat in the meeting, or you can just write on a piece of paper. I also want to recognize that some of you, like myself, as a reflector, some of you might be like, actually, this is really difficult to do in the moment at this session. Rob, because I've had a full-on day and my brain travels, that's okay too. I'd still encourage you to set a goal, but give yourself permission to say, I might need to revise this and revise it in the next couple of days, or specifically before the conference. So I'm just seeing what's kind of going on there, and I'll give people 2 or 3 minutes to do this. So again, I'm just going to go off mute and give ourselves 3 minutes or so as a minimum, I'll give ourselves 3 minutes a minimum to see how we're going with these different areas and check in. And if you finish, you can then start reading other people's notes. Okay, some people are kind of moving through. I can see by the notes that people are looking at the barriers and going on. So we'll give ourselves another couple of minutes to keep on with this. And I'm loving the different goals that I'm seeing on here already. This is fantastic that people are clearly going to get this. Oh wow! So I was just seeing someone's at conference right now. So I love this. This is amazing. If you can apply this as we're doing, this is like meta conferencing, the conference crafting at conference. Like as you're going through, this is amazing. So that's really cool. Whoever that is. Okay, I'll give us another minute or so, and then what I will do, just if people don't mind, we're going to ask for some questions. People can ask me questions and put those in the chat, or you can come off mic, so that's available. And we've got so I think 8 minutes, so 480 kind of seconds. I think we're master right left together. But I would love someone, if they're happy to share a conference goal that they have just with the group. I think that would be really positive for the group to hear, maybe a goal from someone else. So if you feel comfortable doing that, I'll invite someone to share. Okay, so we can see this board here, and I would encourage you to read this as we're talking through. So if you've got any questions, now's the time to put them in the chat to me about conference crafting or hints and tips. I'm wondering, would someone be willing to share their conference goal? And may I ask someone to kind of be willing? So someone with either we've heard from and seen before, or someone else who hasn't done it yet. And again, some people have said public speaking is not their favorite thing. So this might be an opportunity for people to be a bit brave in terms of like coming off mic and sharing their goal. So I'm just wondering, would there be anyone willing to do that? If you are, what might be good? If you look at the reactions, you can raise your hand. So if you can raise your hand and say you'll be willing to do this, I might call on one of you, but this will be super helpful for the group if people are happy to do this. So maybe raise your hand if you're happy to share a goal.
Someone's just asked whether it's practical to have a different goal for each day.
That's a great, thank you for that. I didn't see that popping up. So thanks, Anne. I've just seen that. That's a really good, and Joanna said that's a really good point. I think it is. I think it's what's achievable to you. So your brain is finite. Often having clear goals with clear intentions is the most important thing. It might be interesting for you, particularly if you're going to lots of different conferences, to try and experiment with different things. So I'd say absolutely, but I would just also say be realistic. You, and is it realistic for you to have juggling these different things on different days? Is that all that? If you feel that's totally achievable and you can do that, then go for it. I think it's a really good idea. But I would say if you're someone who's then feeling a bit overambitious anyway and teetering on the edge, just focus on the one thing that's going to make the biggest difference to you. I hope that helps, Anne. So we haven't had anyone at the moment going to go through the conference goal, so that's fine in terms of this willing to share. And I don't want to provoke people from doing this as a personal thing. So maybe what we'll do is we'll just have a quick reflection on a couple of the notes that people have shared already, and then we can kind of come to a close for the session. So I will look at let's go through the notes, and if any other questions come up, people can spot them. That would be great, Sally. If you can just share them again, that would be really helpful. So thank you
Sure.
for spotting. And if you've got any reflections on this as well that you're seeing, I'd love to hear those as well, Sally. So I think some of the goals that I've seen here, which I like, is around building connections, which I love, reducing nerves before presentation. I totally get that. Taking care of physical, mental health. I think, again, a really simple thing about eating well, hydrating well. Again, that's not always easy at conferences. The food is very variable depending on which conference you're going to as well. So are you getting the right balance? Are you drinking enough? Are you drinking too much coffee? And I'm saying that to myself because that's something that I do. Others around deepening their knowledge and research. Going to the sessions you're really interested in. Again, that's a brave thing to do, but that's something that as I've got more confidence going to conferences, I'm getting better at knowing which sessions I should go to and which ones I don't. Initially, again, that buffet idea, I felt like I should eat everything. And I just felt a bit bloated for the rest of the conference as a consequence. So I think that I totally resonate with me, that strategy. Creating, producing kind of progress and output, I think that's fantastic. And someone's put another goal around going home ready to re-engage with family. I think not tired of it. I think that's one, like, again, that's a goal that really resonates with me personally. I can totally get that in terms of because you've been away from family and often you want to re-engage, but sometimes you haven't got the energy to be able to do that. So I totally understand that. Why is this important for people that are doing this? Because from a create, produce, progress, output, because I have some exciting new things. That's great. In terms of the goals for the families, because you've been traveling a lot and they've been getting tired and cranky. Yeah, so that I totally get that as well. I think the presentations about nerves is something that I really understand. I would also say that just saying I'm going to overcome them can be difficult for most people. So I would encourage whoever put that goal around the nerves for a presentation, just think about what can you do to help yourself to reduce those nerves a little bit, or play with it in terms of a presentation. So are you going to be as prepared as you possibly can? Are you going to ensure that you've practiced that presentation before that conference, so you're not worrying? And again, you don't have to do this, but I'm just thinking about what are the things you can do to feel prepared. The other thing in terms of the nerves, some people I've worked with have kind of tried, is around actually acknowledge them as excitement. So everyone gets excited. The fact you've got nervous means it's excitement, and it means because you care about the thing that you're doing. And just recognizing that and saying, okay, this is a sign that I care, is a more positive way than this is a way of nerves. And some people also can use that. Not everyone does this, and people have different advice. I think it's totally okay if you're presenting to say, oh, I'm excited to be presenting to you, and this comes with a bit of nerves. Again, everyone's human. We all understand that, right? We're not expecting everyone to be super TED Talk presenters at conferences, although sometimes that's the expectation. So just be kind to yourself is the thing I would say. If anyone's got any advice for people on this as well, about presentations in particular, maybe put them in the chat. That could be really helpful for that person who set that goal. Other kind of, so when are people going to do these goals? So people are saying at the conference during the whole 3 days. Someone's doing this tomorrow from the beginning of the conference and as soon as it starts. And people are going to tell the goals about. I'm just going to jump through to who can share your goals with your colleagues, your PhD supervisors, your friends and family. I think setting an intention, sharing with someone else means you're much, much more likely to achieve your goal. So as I'm kind of closing, I'll just see if there's any other questions that come through. And just seeing James said, I tend to try and remind myself about how excited I get, nerding out. Oh yeah, that's right. So that's a great thing, James, to go like that nerves, that excitement. It's like I'm just nerding out. I totally get it. And people are kind generally at conferences. They're not expecting people to be super presenters. Although again, that doesn't always alleviate the press. So I'm really excited for you in terms of your conference crafting goal. I would really encourage you to kind of make a note in your diary or something to revisit this before your next conference, because actually, again, it's easy to set an intention and sometimes you can forget about it and execute it. So my challenge to yourself, and maybe Sally, I'm not sure if this is kind of like for this group, I don't know if it's possible for us to send a reminder out maybe before the TASA conference. If they're going to appreciate not everyone's going to the conference, just so you remember about your conference crafting goal, that might be a nice prompt for everyone. But just check in with yourself and just pick one or two little things that will nudge your conference in a certain direction. And in a way that there's one or two things like going to concerts, like going outside, like all the other kind of passions that people had that they were sharing earlier on, the things that fill us up. If you make these small changes, you'll fill yourself up a little bit more at that conference in that way that means to you. And it means also when you leave that conference, hopefully that you'll still felt a bit more filled up than maybe depleted and deprived, which some of us can feel at other conferences. So thank you so much for your time and energy. We have 60 seconds left. Sally, I'll just pass over to you to close.
I'm coming back now. Oh, turn it on and then turn it back off again. I think that was fantastic. I'm not sure how many people here are going to be going to TASA 2024 in a few weeks. But given that you've been so generous allowing us to record this session, we can probably send the recording and maybe those slides that you had to all the delegates for the conference. maybe at the
Yeah,
beginning of this
we can
week
do.
and-
Yeah, absolutely. You can share these with people if you want to into the video for people before the conference if they're interested in setting a conference draft. And if you have done that, well done. I really admire you for doing that. And I can also keep the whiteboard open for you, Sally, as well. I'll send you that link so people can revisit that whiteboard and add their goals to it.
Yeah, that'd be good. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for getting up early. Thank you for filling us up. I hope you don't feel depleted.
We'll see how the rest. No, I'm feeling pretty good at the moment. The rest of the day, we'll see how I go the rest of the day. I'll be kind to myself, as I think that's from the story that people have said as well.
There's a lot of thank yous to you, Rob. So thank you so much, and hopefully I get to see all of you in a few weeks.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.